And then there's also sexual violence that occurs, which is all about abusive superiority feelings and power-based feelings over the opposite gender generally, or even the same gender, depending on who you're carrying out the violence towards, the sexual violence towards I'm talking about now. So, for example, a male priest who's taking out his sexual feelings towards young boys obviously is sexually violent towards young boys, and therefore has major issues sexually with their own parent, their own father in particular, and also major issues with women and their own mother. And I probably shouldn't have said in particular, both genders.
Yes.
And in fact, one of the main reasons why they're choosing young boys is because they're afraid and frightened of girls.
And adult women.
And adult women in particular.
Yeah.
And then, of course, there's the religious thing of a priest needing to be celibate and so forth, which makes it even more difficult, and which is obviously completely against how God created us to be.
Yeah.
And so, there's all sorts of other issues that arise there.
Yeah.
And so you can see that, and then if I use another example, if a man is taking out his sexual frustration on young girls, and he's abusing and a pedophile with young girls, then it indicates that he has some very, very deep issues with older women as well, like women his own age.
Sort of rage-based feelings, would you say?
Both rage-based feelings, but also fear-based feelings associated with feeling like and often grief-based feelings, feeling like an older woman, a woman his own age, won't give her heart to him, but he can take it from a young girl, for example. So very, very damaging emotions, all of these emotions, and it's very, very important to address them. And we have the ability to address them, but unfortunately, even discussing them has so much negative associations and so much shame, guilt, and rejection associated with judgment. In particular, is probably the biggest thing. We don't address them, and therefore we live in them. And this is why the world is so damaged when it comes to sexual expression.
Yeah, for an adult to admit that they have pedophilic, is that a word? Sexual feelings for children, even that alone usually causes such an extreme and violent, because so many of us have the experience of abuse in our childhood that's unhealed. Someone speaking, saying, "Oh, look, I have that desire."
But also many people who are enraged often have that desire themselves.
Of course. Yes.
That's why they have so much judgment towards that desire.
Similar to homophobia.
Correct. Similar to homophobia. It's a similar underlying emotional reason why we project it, is because we have a lot of judgment associated with it, whether that judgment came from our environment or from our own feelings. A judgment can be projected towards the other, and that's what causes a lot of that. So it can be a very complicated thing. It's very important to work through these issues, because without it, you can't heal yourself sexually. If you don't heal yourself sexually, you will not be able to recognize your soulmate ever, generally. And this is why most people never recognize their soulmate until the fifth sphere of the spirit world. Yeah. Because that's the time when they start truly addressing some of these intergender emotional injuries.